Hi, I'm Torte de Lini. Here's the meta news report for patch 7.35c. Hero guides are updated again for the 375th time with 929 changes, an increase from the 686 changes made in January. Let's check in on the meta weather for the top heroes to play so far in patch 7.35c. Okay, let's start with position 1, safe lane carries. The prodigal son returns with Anti-Mage climbing the charts as a reliable carry once more. But with one tiny twist, Aghanim Scepter is a must-have on the hero. The meta is all about being able to maneuver around in fights, shaking off debuffs so you can keep the maneuverability going. Here's like, spoiler alert, Slark and Faceless Void are still around this patch because of the very qualities I just named. Anti-Mage fits right in because he has a blink to maneuver. He comes with magic resistance, which is great in a world where Mage Slayer is still popular for a lot of heroes, and his mana break is not something other heroes can easily get rid of, nor do they really want to pop their BKB to prevent losing their mana from mana break. So what's with the twist? Well, with Aghanim Scepter remedies the one issue of Anti-Mage that other heroes like Slark and Faceless Void don't have issues with. Once Anti-Mage jumps into a fight, it's very hard for him to get out until the blink is off cooldown. That kind of commitment is scary for a carry, especially if you don't perform, and Aghanim Scepter allows you to dip your feet into team fighting water or high ground of the enemy's base, burn some mana on some enemies that you don't like before you yourself are ready to make your grand entrance. I've only changed a few things in the build for this patch by prioritizing Ag Scepter to be right after your Manta style for even more hasty multi-camp farming, and I removed the Iron Branch so you can get a Wraith Band a bit earlier when laning, which should help your laning phase be a little bit more comfortable. Okay, moving on, Luna, another great agility carry for beginners, but with a caveat. You need to actually finish the game. I know that does seem more difficult than it sounds, but if you can actually rally your team, as you see here, to start pushing, take towers, and wrap the game up when Luna hits her timing, then you are golden. Luna suffers from a weak early game, and her late game just doesn't hold a candle to some of the other heroes I just named, but man, when you hit that farming sweet spot of 25 to 30 minutes, and you win a team fight, it's a victory lap to the finish line. Definitely focus on hard farming to get all your items you need, like Manta Style, Dragonlance, Black King Bar, Butterfly, and Conda. I've revised my build to make the laning stage easier by recommending your Lucent Beam at level 1 so you can guarantee last hits on the enemy range creep without getting denied, and I put back Dragonlance as a core item while I am seeing people relying less and less on Ag Shard instead. You can still get Ag Shard, especially for a lot of heroes who like to play close with Luna, but sometimes a Hurricane Pike from that Dragonlance that you just bought is a better way to seal the deal. Conda has also been promoted as a must-have core item, and I've rearranged your extension and luxury items tab to be more sensible. Swift Blink, Disperser as extension, and Refresher Orb and Eye of Skadi to luxury items. Okay, Troll Warlord is definitely a spicy pick if you can handle the challenge, with Maelstrom now providing plus 25 attack speed and Sanjay Yasha receiving better status resistance and lifesteal amplification. Troll Warlord has entered the realm of popular hero picks, but the true buff that I think people might be overlooking is that his Ag Shard provides 20% plus 4% instead of 3 chance per fervor stack to hit a secondary enemy whenever he attacks. In simpler terms, really, at max fervor stacks, which is 16 instead of 12, when you get the Ag Shard, you have an 84% chance of hitting another enemy. In other words, it now only takes you 8 stacks of fervor to earn a 50% chance to start attacking another enemy as you wail down your male target, and thus only also increasing the likelihood of you proccing chain lightning from your Maelstrom and Mjolnir. So with all that said, I changed up his guide to now provide 2 choices: the standard Battle Fury into Yasha BKB Sanjay Yasha with Ag Shard, or you can get the new build, which is Maelstrom BKB into Mjolnir and Ag Shard. I've also moved Ag Scepter and Satanic down over to optional extension item choices. Now, a true and tried favorite of this patch, Faceless Void continues to be one of the most popular and safest heroes to play this patch, just like last patch, as the hero has such a reliable ultimate ability and fits into almost any lineup or tempo, quick games or late game stretches. The hero hasn't really changed to previous patches except with the popularity of Manta Style as another way to break out of common debuffs like silences and roots, but it's also really useful to confused enemies during Chronosphere when they want to single target you down during your ultimate, but they can't seem to figure out which one is the real you. I updated my hero build actually to move down Meta Style to situational items, as it's not as consistently bought as I thought it would be, so it's now something to consider, not for every game. Cool. Another popular pick of this meta, Slark, remains the few heroes that continue to be strong this patch. The nerf to Mage Slayer has not made much effect on him, as he still brings a lot of maneuverability and dispel, thanks to Ag Scepter, Dark Pack, and Disperser. The hero is just incredibly annoying to deal with, and this patch only has made him more susceptible during the late phase, with lower armor gains from Wraithband, a bit less magic resistance from Mage Slayer, and a 2-second increase in pounce. That doesn't matter really, he's still incredibly powerful this patch. No changes made to my hero guide for this hero, though you can get a Black King bar much earlier in the build, and Orchid of Malevolence is much more regularly picked up for the hero instead of Mage Slayer, but honestly it's still pretty much the same build that you know and love, or hate. Like me, I hate Slark. Okay, how about some position 2 mid laners? Zeus, but as a right clicker, has been getting a lot of steam lately thanks to the introduction of Parasma, but also how matches usually play out where Zeus shines most, from an early game killer with phylactery into a fast farming and scaling to reach a late game where he's consistently dealing damage regardless if the enemy is building Mage Slayer or magic resistance. That said, if you're playing against a lot of squishy enemies, you can still opt for the magic build. You just need to consider the parameters of your match and which version of Zeus to play. So, just like before, my guide still provides 2 Zeus core builds, one as a right clicker or the old magic nuke build. However, I've added Dragonlance to your right click build and Parasma in the extension item section for the right clickers. Sanjay and Kaya are now also recommended in your core magic build, so heads up on that. And choose the one that you like most. So, Puck is among the best mid laning heroes to play this patch. You will probably not win your lane every time, but that's just growing pains as you play a hero that has a lot of maneuverability, difficult to catch, and can build into a devastating late game build with Parasma, Ag Shard, and Mjolnir, with Ag Scepter, which lets her deal massive physical damage with magic bonus damage on top of it all. The hero is pure devastation, you're about to see here. On top of all that, they lowered her illusory orb by 1 second in 7.35, which is actually surprisingly a big difference for a hero that relies on Yules and your illusory orb and phase shift to avert and avoid damage and ganks. For her guide, I moved Mjolnir over to a possible extension item, and I moved Yules to a core item to give you another dispel and damage avoiding option just in case you need it. You might not need it, you might want to just skip Yules outright, so consider what you may need instead, or if you just want to go straight damage with the sweet Ag Shard, Witchblade, and all that jazz. Ember Spirit is still a very safe pick for mid lane despite Shiva's guard's nerf, but that means nothing if Mage Slayer is still such a good item for the hero, as it literally drops all spell damage output from the enemy team during team fights, since Mage Slayer works with his Slate of Fist. All I had to do for this guide is move Shiva's guard to a possible extension items and bring Glipnir, as it is relatively cheap, into a core items opportunity. A great setup to keep foes in place for Slate of Fist, and obviously chains well with your Searing Chains. So, super easy pick. You just saw Glipnir play right there. I really like that. Nice jump. Beautiful. How about a spicy pick? Huskar, one of the last pick recommendations as a mid lane hero, with the buffs to Sanjay and Halberd in 7.35C. His inherent magic resist and dominating laning, he could be a good pick, but meets so much opposition in terms of counter picks like Necrophos, Ancient Apparition, or even Viper, that, you know, sometimes Huskar can even fall flat on his ass. That said, Huskar is just a solid pick for the mid lane, regardless of who you're up against, besides those I named, unless it's a Puck, is also one last exception, sorry. And he plays really well to both sides of a tide of a tempo. So what that means is either he's really good at ganking regularly to deter enemies from reaching their level 6 and 7s from the side lanes, or he's pretty decent actually at farming to get his Halberd, BKB, and Ag Scepter that can really help screw up team engagements during their critical to mid to late engagements. So honestly, Huskar is just a really nice pick that can fit with a lot of lineups. You have to be careful for those obvious traps where, you know, playing against a Necro or an AA can kind of shut him down. That said, still has a great feel to him. Obviously wins the mid lane most of the time. Just one issue is playing against Puck. So it's kind of like, you know, if you're feeling spicy or kind of, you know, want to play expert mode, Huskar could be the way. Okay, let's go with position 3 core offlane heroes. Tidehunter, one of the editor's picks, or as I say, my picks. Tidehunter hasn't lost his step as a solid and foundational offlane hero, and the nerfs to Vladimir's offerings do not affect him whatsoever, as it just means that it gives less to allies and more towards the holder themselves. So obviously Tidehunter doesn't really sweat that. He's still an immovable hero in the lane and can still apply Mage Slayer debuff to enemies after initiating with his ultimate Ravage, which you just saw. For those really pesky fast moving heroes, heroes. His Ag Shard dead in the water is just annoying to deal with. You can see the Wyvern just having trouble escaping. Perfect example of what I'm talking about. Though Shiva's rise in cost in 7.35C means he's obtaining it a little bit later, or actually much later than usual, he still holds his own in most fights with Anchor Smash and the lifesteal with Vladimir's offering. That said, I did make some changes into his guide. I've adjusted his starting in early game to make moving into Vladimir's a lot more comfortable to ease into. Shiva's guard is still one of his last core items, and his late game now highlights Ag Shard as a possibility, as well as Refresher Orb, though I still recommend maybe Octarine Core as a first item to pick up, especially if you need a larger mana pool to cast Refresher and double Ravage, which is quite expensive, frankly speaking. So, Centaur prevails even with Shiva's guard nerf, which is very nice. His double edge and Veil of Discord is pure chaos to deal with, and if you're a safe lane core in that lane, you're pretty much always scared of the kill threat from a Centaur and a Techie's off lane, just for example. What's really key is the ultimate provides a nice setup for ganks or a global escape for your team to disengage, like against a Monkey King or a Phoenix ultimate, to then re-engage on terms you want, which plays into the maneuverability meta that I was talking about and keep relentlessly mentioning. You can see right here perfectly. No real changes for the Centaur guide. Just think he's a really good meta hero that you guys have to play for the offlane if you want to win. Doom, another great survivor of the Shiva's guard meta change, where the only thing his guide has differentiated from below is that Shiva's guard is now purchased later rather than rushed. Doom still has an incredible presence in the lane thanks to his Scorched Earth. Means he can run to anyone who goes for a deny or last hit and devour, also giving him additional armor combined with Helm of the Iron Will to shrug off most physical harassment. Now you can see in fights what's really annoying is that not only can this hero have great farming capabilities and an ultimate that is probably the most annoying part, shuts down a lot of heroes relying on their natural regeneration or Vladimir's offering or Guardian Greaves to keep them alive throughout the fight until they can escape or dispel or maneuver away from Doom's Scorched Earth AoE. With Doom, obviously he stops all that. His double stun of Blink Centaur's Stomp from your Devour into an Infernal Blade is an incredibly annoying combo to get initiated on, especially when followed up with Doom, preventing you from reacting with your abilities in time. I think you just saw in this fight here, Centaur didn't get to do anything honestly in that fight, and he pretty much lost all the regeneration, which is what makes him very strong throughout the fights and even during the laning stage. To get doomed on by Doom is frankly frustrating to look at and unfortunate for enemy teams. Great for those like me who play Doom a lot. Okay, a lot to say on our last recommended hero for the offlane. Dragonite still as great as a dominating offlaner or even mid laner for most games. The hero always at least trades evenly in last hits with the lane before securing a tower with his ultimate ability. With 2 bracers and levels in Dragon Blood and Breathe Fire's damage reduction on whoever he hits from afar means that Dragonite is laning with very, very high health, high right click damage, good armor, and damage reduction, which gives him a laning stage a very comfortable time for the hero. Going into the mid game, all of Dragonite's core items combine very well with what Dragonite does best: siege and attack. Mage Slayer with your splash corrosive damage from your ultimate ability gives Dragonite great output. On top of that, you can use the output to take down really fast and farm really well jungle camps. Later on, he'll pick up a Manta style where his illusions will achieve the same thing and push down lanes even faster while farming during your ultimate form, Elder Dragon form. Not to mention that Manta style gives you a dispel to rid debuffs and movement speed that plays off the movement speed bonus you get with your ultimate ability, so double the movement speed value. Finally, Aghanim Scepter combined with Mage Slayer means you get a whopping 58% magic resistance on top of the great massive health and effects when attacking. In short, the hero is a staple for most lineups because he is a reliable damage dealer and team fighter from start to finish. I've adjusted the Dragonite's guide just to make it a little bit easier for you guys to play with an update on his skill build, though to be honest his first 6 levels are adjustable to how you lane and how your lane will play out and what you need. So be a little bit mindful that maybe you need to be a little more, give a little forethought on how you should level up your hero. At least in the first 6 levels. His starting and early game items have been adjusted to build towards 2 bracers, and a Mage Slayer is prioritized as your core item alongside Magic Wand. Hurricane Pike is sometimes picked up in Immortal PUBG games, so I've slotted it to the situational item tabs just in case you yourself feel like you need it. It's there to consider. Finally, it's time to mention position 4 and position 5 hero supports. Techies is one of the best supports to play this patch and the next hero to release in our tutorial series, so stay subscribed to the channel for when that comes out. His early game kill threat presence throughout the laning stage makes laning against him a nightmare for most safe laning carries. He's a natural mid-game Oreo carrier like Garden Greaves, giving him a lot of popularity in this patch, especially when it comes to disrupting carries, desperate for farm, and adding tempo to a lineup that is seeking proactively then to take objectives. I've updated my Techie's Guide skill build, which now has 1 point in reactive taser for movement for when you want to position preparing for blast off, but also a nice combo for when you want to kind of disarm your opponent after the stun with blast off from for your proximity mines to pop. I've also changed up his talent at level 10, as you don't really need more magic resistance unless you're dealing with a really heavy magic lineup. And getting more proximity mines from that talent means more of everything. You know, deward up cliffs, farming camps, damage follow through after you stun, scouting up, you know, different parts of the map, etc. I threw in a circlet as a starting item for a bit more juice in Techie's physical attack harassment, since he is a universal attribute hero, and I moved up Guardian Greaves and Glimmer Cape to his core items build, but you could swap those out for Solo Crest or Force Staff, which is now the situational and extension items. Cool, let's talk about Nature's Prophet. Still a popular hero to play despite nerfs to his Sprout and teleportation. The hero is all about early game plays and ganks combined with a strong inherent damage to harass and repel enemies back in the lane. I know it looks like he's not doing much here, but I guarantee you action is about to come. Having a hero that can trap and damage enemies if they don't have Quelling Blade is still incredibly annoying for most average pub games, and the ability to join on any gank or fight, as you just saw from across the map, really spotlights Nature's Prophet as the ideal support hero right now. I've updated the build and changed his level 15 talent to +5 Treant Summoned, which plays into your first recommended item, Ag Shard, and that benefits greatly from more Treants for more damage. Earnest Shadows is now the first item recommended for you in the early game to purchase, so you can start generating charges for when you finally upgrade it to Spirit Vessel right after Magic Wand. Glypnir and Octarine were added to your extension items, given the amount of abilities you regularly use throughout a fight. Really sweet hero, super annoying to deal with. Okay, cool. Batrider is now is one of the new position 4 support heroes to play in 7.35 and continues to be good in 7.35C. Since the hero has had his sticky napalm nerfed, the hero has become a pure setup hero. That leads him to becoming a support. His best abilities, Flame Break and Flame Lasso, means all he can do is displace enemies and then grab them with Flaming Lasso and then reel them into a strong core to finish the ganked enemy off. Firefly is now only used to farm jungle camps quickly, but also helps with, you know, ideal positioning since you're not stalled by cliffs or, you know, anything like trees to slow you down. And then it also helps you reach enemies without them being alerted of your presence before it's too late. Earlier this week, I released a video talking about why Batrider is a great support hero now, and I recommend checking that out for an even more thorough breakdown on my Torte de Lini 2 channel. His turn-up guide changes, I've completely revised the build. His new skill build revolves around making Firefly maxed first, with Sticky Napalm maxed second. His level 2 talent has been swapped, and his itemization is now more centered around position 4 support. So his core items being Tranquil Boots, Blink Dagger, Black King Bar, Boots of Bearing. Very easy items to farm for Batrider, especially with Firefly, once his ganking momentum has kind of settled down. If ever. Extension items have also been updated to be more attainable. Support items like Shiva's Guard, I know it raised in cost, but it is actually more attainable than some other items he was going for. Ethereal Blade and Octarine Core as kind of a really expensive late game item that you might want to consider. So Hoodwink in 7.35B was a menace because of Mage Slayer worked with your Acorn Shot. Although Mage Slayer has fallen out with the hero, that doesn't mean it's not very good hero now still. Atos, Maelstrom, and Glypnir remain, as you just saw here, and still popular for the hero because of how quickly she can farm with Acorn Shot. More importantly, the hero has a break with her ultimate, working really well against popular heroes that I just named in this video, like Dragonite, Timbersaw I didn't name, Centaur, and Tidehunter, as well as popular carries like Sven, Luna, Faces Void, and Templar Assassin, which you see here as well, to shut down their passive abilities and make them inherently weak in this current lineup or atmosphere of big team fighting. I've updated Hoodwink's build to max out Scurry second. It provides way more value than Bushwhack, especially in terms of range and positioning escape for the hero, and thus not forcing you to have to buy Aetherland, which gives you room to farm Maelstrom or Atos first into Glypnir. I've also thrown in Ag Shard as core items because it combos well with Glypnir, has increased range with Scurry, and makes your Acorn Shot deal even more damage with Chain Lightning on top of the ability to flash farm jungle caps very fast. Lastly, these last supports I didn't get to really talk about, but are also great, and they still haven't really changed since 7.35. Pugna is one of the first I would recommend, as well as maybe Chen. How about Lion? Still great. There we go. And Tiny, pause 4. It's also a fantastic hero. Their early lane presence and pressure and even auras for heroes like Chen is what makes them really strong. Chen picking up the Vladimir's offering in specifics is what makes them great throughout this patch and the meta. If you've been playing these heroes throughout this patch, keep going, stick with it. They're still absolutely fantastic. Lightning round. Let's go for the lightning rounds for these up and coming trendy popular hero builds that maybe I would recommend if you feel frisky about trying something new and interesting. And you're seeing one of the most interesting ones right now. Terrorblade pause 4. I've said it on my Torte de Lini 2 channel that you can check out at the top right corner. And I'll say it again. Terrorblade pause 4 is coming to a pub near you. From the early to mid game, the developers has shaped his reflection ability, which you probably don't remember too much, to be a free harassment tool for support Terrorblade. Combined with the massive damage you deal with Metamorphosis, your level 10 talent Reflection then becomes a 5-second spammable spell throughout the fights because it reduces the cooldown on Reflection. You use Conjure Image to farm in the mid game, maybe scout up some cliffs or in the enemy jungles, and rely on your Sunder to save allies, not to offensively use on enemies. Definitely interesting twist on a popular carry hero. Just not one everyone can pull off yet. Maybe I should make a guide for that. I don't know. Just something to check out. Okay, believe it or not, Sven is still hanging around this meta as one of the few strength carries to be able to keep up with the fast-moving, fast damage-dealing agi carries. That's only possible now with Ag Scepter instead of the Blink Dagger as a way to close gaps on enemies, and it dispels the target and those around it on hit, and it actually stuns even. Maybe we'll see it here, even when they have Black King Bar active, which I think is really cool. Super underrated Ag Scepter upgrade to keep foes still and taking damage even when they think they're safe and maneuverable. Combine that with Harpoon and you keep foes in range of your attacks for a decently long time, no matter how much they try to resist. Really cool hero. Love that Ag Scepter is back on the board. Love playing Superman Sven. Definitely one for you guys to try out and give it a whirl. Look at that. Beautiful. Nice kill. Lastly, this is a weird one for me for sure. Leshrac support is a thing. It is sweeping the nation with lukewarm results for now. Greaves, Yule, and Shard. The hero remains strong with inherent damage from his spell abilities and one of the best zoning AoE stuns in the game, honestly. Especially when he picks up Ag Shard, is what I'm specifically talking about. Combined with Yule's, Leshrac usually has the mana to deal damage throughout a fight, at least long enough throughout the fight, and relies on the Greaves for additional dispel and to keep team fights going with his team. Honestly, you're not seeing it in this video, but the appeal of the hero to be a support at least is during the laning stage, is when he grabs 2 points of Diabolic Edict. The buff actually deals a lot of pure damage at level 2, so you can find enemies who are caught out alone and not near enemies or creeps. You can pretty much destroy them. I think it does like 700 damage by the time you get 2 levels in it, so it's actually pretty massive. Remember, it's pure damage, so it's kind of hard to mitigate that, especially early game. So really interesting hero, really interesting dynamic and discovery people are making with just the tiniest buffs that you otherwise wouldn't have considered. That's it for me. I'm Torte de Lini. More videos every week on this channel and on my Torte de Lini 2 channel. Also catch me on Twitch, continuing to test all your favorite builds every day. Hero build changes are not final and will be evolving as the meta develops. Check in game for the latest versions, and don't forget to subscribe to me. That's how you can support me, like my stuff, share my videos, give me money, all that shit, so I can keep doing this, and assuming you like it.